Hi guys, so today I'm going to build a web application which is color mixer. So here I'm going to use HTML, basic JavaScript and CSS. So this is kind of a minor project which you can use if you are in a college. So let's begin. I'm going to use a playcode.io. It's a online IDE for front-end development. So all the HTML and JavaScript and Bootstrap related coding you can do here, and you can see the results as well parallelly. So in the left side, I will be writing the code, and in the right side, you can parallelly see the output of that code. So let's start. Before I begin, I will just convey what I am going to implement. So this is a kind of a color mixer where user will be giving the inputs for the primary colors, which are red, green and blue, and we will be combining all these three colors, and whatever is the resultant color we will be showing as a preview. So let's begin. We'll add some basic HTML tags, then body. Inside that we'll add a div. Then inside this, we'll add an input tag where we are going to take the input from the user. So in our HTML, if you are aware, there are some there are various types of input type, like input type as text, number, email. So you can see the output of this code in the right side. So here, left side I have mentioned as input type equal to text, and in the right side you can see a text box where user can give the input in the form of text from the keyboard. But in our project, we don't want user to give input like this. We want kind of a slider where he can just slide and increase and decrease the values, because it's going to be a color related input, correct? So for that we can use the input type as range. So you can see as I give the input type equal to range, in the right side you can see there is a slider which we can slide horizontally. So for this we can set some min and max value. Min value I'm going to give 0. Max value I will be giving 255. So why I'm giving 255 is because in the color coding, if you are taking as a RGB color coding, then the minimum value for any color will be 0, and the maximum value for any color like red or green or blue will be 255. So it can be where it will always be somewhere between 0 to 255. So it cannot go beyond 255. That's why I gave max value as 255. Now we can add another value, another attribute as value. Here we can set the default value. So you can see, like, in the value, if I am giving her 10, so the slider is somewhere in the beginning. uh, if I am increasing the value, so you can see the slider has moved, and now it is showing somewhere in the middle of this. So for now, let's keep the default value as 150. Then we will add a class here. Suppose we are going to give the name as slider range, right? And let's give the ID to this slider range, right? My bad. Let's change the class name here, because just for the understanding, so we'll change some naming convention. We'll mention class as my slider and id as slider range red. Then add class to this div also. So these are not any uh, built-in classes which I have added here. These are the custom classes. So I am going to add the CSS also for these classes. So don't worry about that. So for it, we'll add the head here, and inside our head we can create a style tags, and inside the style we can write our CSS. So I'll just add some random CSS here. So one thing I would like to highlight here is this is the I just added some height and width and some background color for the class type my slider. This my slider class type is given in the input section. So you can see the background color which I have set is some different color, but still it is showing in blue color. So why my CSS is not being applied here? So the reason is whenever we are using some um, tag like input type, uh, range or radio button, so it will be having some default CSS which will be rendered by the browser. But now we don't want that default CSS, and we want to override those CSS with our custom values. So we have to tell the browser that, hey browser, we don't want the default CSS. I am going to define the CSS for this. You use only my CSS. So for that, we will be adding this line here, which is WebKit appearance none. So you can see as soon as I have written this line WebKit appearance none, the background color of my slider has changed. So yeah, this is the thing which I wanted to highlight here. Similarly, if you can see there is a, so this is called as a thumb. You can see this blue dot here. This is the thumb which will be used for sliding and taking the input. So here also we don't want this blue dot, we want some different CSS. So I will add the CSS for this also. Save the time, I'll just copy and paste it here. So this is nothing, just some background color, height and width. Again, the point which I would like to highlight here is this is the WebKit appearance none. This is the property which I am setting here also. So if I remove this property from here, you can see whatever CSS I have written here is not being applied for this blue dot until I write the WebKit appearance and set the property as none. So once I write it, it will WebKit appearance will become null and it will override the CSS, and now you can see some that blue dot has become square, gray square, and this gray square we can slide from left to right. Yeah, so this is one slider. Now we want we can say this is the slider for taking the input of red color. Now we want two more sliders, one is for green, one is for blue. So I'll just copy and paste the same div, and I will change some of the naming conventions so that we can easily identify it. So now you can see there are total three sliders. So okay, this is the slider. Now as per our requirement, we are going to take the input from these sliders. We are going to mix all those colors and we want to show in a preview. So where will we show the preview? So for that we need one more div. I'll create one more div here. Let's give the id equal to output this div. Let's add some inline css like but 100% height, let's say 300, or let's say 200 pixels. So now you can see there is a white background uh, above these three sliders. So it is showing as a white because as of now there is no color set to this. So this is the area where our preview will be shown. Yeah, so this is the overall HTML part. Now to make it work, we have to add some logic here. So that logic we will be adding with the help of the JavaScript. So let's add the script tag here. Now in the script tag, the idea is to get the elements, these slider elements by ID, and then once we have received these elements in our JavaScript, we can perform the operations on that. So suppose I am taking the first element, document dot get element by ID, and here I will pass the ID of the red slider. Let's take it in a variable of range slider red. So what we have done is we have taken this HTML element into this variable. Now we have a function on input which we can call whenever, which we will not actually be calling. It will be called by the JavaScript internally automatically every time whenever we slide the, or whenever we change the value in the slider. So now let's add some logic in the function. So inside this function, again the idea is we are going to take the element by ID. So I'll just copy the statement from here to here to save the time. But the ID will be output. So in short, we are going to take the output div, and then in that output div, we are going to set the style background color in the RGB format, and the RGB format will be red, green, and blue. So we can write here red, then green, and blue. Yeah, but so yeah, this is the uh, way to set the CSS of a of an HTML element inside a JavaScript. So basically what I did is I have taken the element by ID, then I have set the background color with the help of RGB format, red, green and blue. But hold on, what is this red, green and blue? These are the variables which we have to initialize first. So suppose we are going to give the default value as red, then green, then blue. Now whenever our function ranges slider red dot on input, so whenever this function will be called, we will be getting the value in this dot value, because we will be sliding this, so the value will be coming inside this object. This object dot value, we can assign it to variable red. So now you can see whenever I will slide the red slider, the value will be taken and the integer value will be taken and it will be assigned in the red variable. So now these, you can see the default value of the green is 150, blue is 150 and red is going to vary based on the slider. So in this particular statement, the green is going to be constant 150, blue is going to be constant 150 and red is going to vary based on the slider. So let's see the effect. You can see when I am sliding this first slider, the color is getting changed. So when it is 0, then it is showing something this color, because it is because at this state red is 0, green is 150 and blue is also 150. Now when I am increasing it, you can see the changes in the color, and when I will put it at max, it means the red is to 255, green is 150 and blue is also 150. Now you understood the concept here, approach which we have implemented. So now we have to do the same thing for green and blue as well. So what I will do, I will just copy this function for green and blue, and I will just change the variable here. So for green, range is slider green dot on input. In this function we will be getting the value for green, so we are assigning it to green, and similarly we will add it for blue and we will assign the value to blue. For that we have to take those sliders as well in our JavaScript. So I'm just using the code and change the names for green and blue. So now you can see this is also working, this is also working, and the third slider is also working. So if I set all the three to the minimum value, which is 0, you can see it is becoming black. If I am setting all the values to the maximum, so this is red, now green is also maximum, and then now blue is also maximum, so it is becoming white, which is completely expected. Now, how the user is know will know that first slider is for red one, second is for green, third is for blue. We have to give some identification to user also. It's just a kind of a user friendly thing. We can give some label also here, just like some text, red, then green, then blue, or we can make it more attractive, and we will set the background color also of each and every slider. So when we are sliding, the background color of the slider also will change. So for that, what we will do, we will do the same thing. We'll take the document.get element by id for red slider, and inside this we will set the background value in the RGB format. Now the idea is, for red slider only red will be varying, green and blue will be 0 always. So now you can see, whenever I am changing the color here from slider 1, the background color is also changing for this slider. So with this, user can easily identify that first one is for red color. So same thing we need to do for green also, and blue also. So I will reuse the code here. So for second one, the red is going to be constant 0, blue is going to be constant 0, only the green value will change. And similarly for third one, the red is going to be constant, which is 0, green is going to be constant, which is 0, only blue is going to vary. Yeah. So now you can see, first one is also working, second one is also working, third one is also working. Let's give some space between the output div and our sliders. So let's add a BR statement here. Now it looks more cleaner here. So you can set any combination here, and you will be seeing the result in the output section. You can see I am varying the values here, and the combination of all these three colors will be shown in the first div. Yeah, so that's all for this project. I hope you liked it. If you like it, please share, subscribe our video, press the bell icon. Share your thoughts in our comment section. What are the projects, or what are the uh, things you want me to build, either in front end side, back end side, or if you have any questions related to your project, you can ask in the comment section. Thank you.